Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining John and I today. John Moody is with Primus Line. I'm going to jump right in. We have got a ton of questions that you guys have already written in. So keep the questions coming. We're going to try and get through all of them. If you guys will use your questions tab on the control panel, type questions in there. Those are what I'm going to be moderating. I'm going to really let John focus on the talking and answering the questions, and I'll just butt in and ask the questions as you guys send them our way. All right, John, real quick, why don't you tell us how you got involved in the trenchless pipe industry?
All right. Well, first of all, thank you, Cassie, for inviting me on to do this. I'm really been looking forward to this. Yeah. So I started in the trenchless industry probably about 11 years ago. In depth, I started working for a company in Connecticut called Hike Camp, and they did cement mortar lining. So they were bought by a Japanese company, and they were doing a multiple various different types of trenchless technologies, from spiral wound to CIPP to some slip lining. So I got a lot of, I was fortunate to have a boss that felt like, hey, if you're going to work for me, I want you to actually know what it's like to work in the trenches. So when people ask you questions, you'll know the answers. So for the first month, I actually worked in the trenches installing products and working with the crews, and it was the best experience I ever had in my life. And he was a great boss. So I was fortunate to have all my bosses have been great, I will say, even to this day. I've been lucky. I've been fortunate. But so then I came to work for Primus Line about 5 years ago, and I took on the role of director of sales for the U.S. and been here ever since.
And John and I actually, real quick, guys, we connected a couple of months ago via LinkedIn. I saw some of his product posts and I was really intrigued, especially because my company focuses on stormwater drainage, and I started really looking into the Primus line, and I thought it was really interesting how it crosses so many different industries, potable water, sewer. So anyway, I'll let him get into that. One question that I have, this is mine, is have you seen any shift in conversations the last couple of weeks while things are very volatile? I know Ryan and I discussed this last week, and it's something I'm going to continue to ask because I'm interested in everyone's perspective right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And for sure, especially right now, the way things are ramping up, everyone's really primarily concerned about their families and making sure they're safe. And we are, we're in the same boat. I've been at home for the last couple of weeks. No dig has been canceled. And that's this time of year is the primary time of year we get to have a lot of one-on-one with our existing customers and rekindle old relationships and that sort of thing. So it has been a little bit of a challenge, but we also know in this industry that the infrastructure is critical. It's not going away. The people that we deal with are all essential personnel. So we're just kind of reaching out to them, let them know that we're here. If they need anything and we can help them, we're happy to do that, and we'll support them in any way we can.
Nice. Yeah, agreed. We're kind of all going to this, exactly what you and I are doing, virtual meetings.
Absolutely.
Virtual lunch and learns. I got invited to a virtual vino party a couple nights ago. Okay. So that was fun. So we've got a ton of questions. I'm going to dive into some of the technical stuff. Does your pipe get grouted in place? If not, how do you address the voids the old pipe has created?
So we don't. Our product is intentionally undersized. So we're using that hose pipe strictly as a conduit. We're not transferring any of the energy, the dynamic forces inside our liner back to the hose pipe. And we actually, know that that's going to elongate the life of that conduit for us. So that's an intentional thing. We don't grout it. We want our pipe to handle any water hammer, any of those issues. We're going to take that on ourselves, and that's how we protect that hose pipe.
Great. Like I said, you guys, as I'm going through, if more questions are popping up, just feel free to shoot them into that questions box. What is the classification of Primus Liner 3 or 4, and where can someone find that information?
So because those classifications were really written by the CIPP industry and all the industry people, our product is really a form of advanced slip lining, and it doesn't fit any of those classifications because it's a flexible liner. So we can handle the internal pressures no problem at all. But we don't rely on the host pipe for the structural integrity of our liner beyond the fact that it needs to maintain the ground loading. So, we could, a portion of everything that we do can fit by definition into a portion of every category. So we just say, we try to tell people that classification doesn't really apply to us.
Gotcha. And that actually goes right into another question you and I were talking about a little bit yesterday. How you, because you get this all the time, is how does this compare to cured in place or the lay flat?
Yep. So we get that question a lot. So comparing it to cured in place, and a lot of our installers so we use in the United States, and I'll get into this when I get into the presentation a little bit, but we use certified installers in the US. Typically, these are certified solution partners, and these are people that are already involved in trenchless technology. So our product is not going to be a one size fits all product for any company. So we see ourselves partnering up with, and we do partner up with people that are already doing CIPP, slip lining, swage lining, because we use our product in such a unique way, in a unique fashion, and it's versatile in its applications. There's very little overlap with our product and CIPP. As far as lay flat goes, it's our lay flat can't handle the pressures that we can. Some people look at our product and say, well, it looks an awful lot like lay flat. And until you actually hold it in your hand and see it and try to compress it and see the rigidity of it and how strong it is, from the optics of it may appear to be looking like lay flat, but it's not lay flat, not even close.
Gotcha. Yeah, you and I talked about that in length yesterday. So couple more technical questions. How do you locate the lateral tie-ins and not blow the liner past them?
So our product is designed to be used with from a point A to point B connection. So when we line a section of pipe, we can line up to 8,000 feet in one pit. So what I'll do, Cassie, right now is sort of jump in, start going through the presentation.
Okay.
And I think I'll address a lot of these questions. And as you see them come up, maybe you can point them out for us.
Okay.
So the Primus line system is really a composite system. It consists of a spool of material, usually, and two end connectors. So it's a flexible liner that's folded up into a C shape. It's taped up and it's shipped out to the job site with all the components that you need to install it. So literally an installer, all they have to do is show up with the connectors, some of their tools, a winch to pull it in if necessary, and any of the tools to connect it. So that component system, it's a monolithic solution, and that's why we tell people we're 100% leak free. When we talk about test pressures, and this product was originally designed for the oil and gas industry, so it's much higher than what you would normally see for the water industry. We use our product for bridge applications all the time. Our product is utilized anywhere you have a steep grade down a big hill, and the head pressures could overcome any of the other sort of products that are out there that people are used to using, sort of HDPE pipe, CIPP. If they can't handle the pressure, typically we can. So that's where sometimes we'll use HDPE or CIPP in conjunction with our liner. Let's say you had hot soils and you had exterior corrosion of the pipe, and you were afraid that you might lose the structural integrity of your hose pipe. So we recommend, if you have a high pressure application and your standard materials can't handle the pressure, you can use both of them because we're undersized. So our OD is going to be smaller than the ideal. We can work out a pipe size that'll work in conjunction with these other products, and we do that pretty often, actually.
And that was one
So
of the questions that came in was handling bends and inline connections. So I think you're
yep.
kind of addressing that.
So yeah, so when anytime you cut, so you can't hot tap our line. Anytime that you have to stop our line or you have a lateral connection to make, and remember, so this is a pressure pipe application. It's not for gravity sewers or gravity lines. This is
Can we
strictly a
go to
pressure
your
pipe.
slide that shows the pressure ratings? We actually just had someone type in that question. And I know
Sure.
you got one that gives a pressure ratings.
Yep, that's actually coming up. I just wanted to hit this one really quick.
Oh
So
yeah.
this is the actual makeup of our pipe. So the external layer is an abrasion resistant polyethylene. That's the exterior sheath. That's what gives us the ability to pull extremely long distances. So an average shot for us or pull for us would be about 2,500 feet, 2,000 feet. Those are sort of the normal pulls for us. And there can be multiple bends. There can be multiple 445s is typically what we see in an average pull for us. So 445s aren't going to be a big issue for us. The inner core is where this product derives all of its strength and its structural integrity. So we have 100% seamless woven aramid fiber that accommodates the operating pressure independently from the hose pipe. Our thickness for this is about 6 millimeters. The liner is not glued to the hose pipe, so that means we're not interacting with the hose pipe. It's just simply being a conduit for us. Now, the
Okay.
internal layer is more or less fluid specific, but we're NSF approved for our polyethylene. So sometimes when we use this for gas, for example, we'll change that up to a TPU, a thermal polyurethane.
So we had a question come in about gravity sewers. Jason asked, so this is not used for gravity sewers, question mark. I take it sewer force mains would be a good application?
Exactly, and so we do a lot of sewer force mains. The one thing, Jason, that you have to keep in mind is that you may have to design on these sewer force mains. We may have to do a little bit of field application or field design. We want to make sure that as much as we can, that our hose pipe is always filled with fluid, and so that usually comes into a design feature. You know, there might be sort of backflow preventers that we might want to put on there, but it depends on the job. Siphons are something we do all the time, so for sure.
Perfect.
So as far as the pressure rating goes, to give you an example of the various pressure ratings, our 6-inch diameter medium pressure line. So we have 3 different ratings of pressure lines. We have a low pressure, a medium pressure, and a high pressure. So the low pressure takes the Kevlar and we actually change that up and we use a polyurethane fiber instead of Kevlar. It reduces the cost, but obviously it also reduces that structural integrity, that strength. So you can see it's less than half on the 6-inch. So a low pressure is 363 psi. Our medium pressure is 812 psi. Now, when we go through a 45-degree bend, we essentially cut that pressure rating in half. So, and that's typically way above anything that we need, you know, or have in a conventional water system in the U.S. Typically 100 to 120 is typically what I see pressure ratings in the U.S. or maximum operating pressures. So we have 8 inches, 580, 10 is 435. When we get up beyond 12 inches, we only really offer medium pressure with the exception of 16-inch. And that has to do with the decrease, and you can see this bell curve kind of coming up, and that has to do with the geometry of the weave. So the larger diameter, the lower the pressure rating. So when we manufacture, go ahead.
Can you tell us what the diameter ranges are? I mean, you and
Yep,
I
so
know
the range is, like you see on the screen, it's 6 to 20 inches.
Okay, so this is it. This is your diameter range.
This is the diameter range. Yep,
Perfect.
6 to 20 inches. So when we look at a project, the first thing we look at is how many bends, what's the pressure rating, and how long are the runs. So, you know, we did a project in Texas. It was actually a sewer. It was a sewer force main or recycled water, but essentially same as a sewer force main. And we had 16,000 feet in total. And the contractor was Hill Services. They were our CSP at the time, and they're still our CSP, but that was their project. And they actually had pulled over 3 lines over 4,000 feet. One of them had 3 30-degree bends with a 45-degree bend in it, and they pulled that over 4,500 feet. And it took them 45 minutes to pull that liner in place. So it takes them maybe a few hours to put the end connectors on in place. So it's dramatic how much we can save people, end users, pipe owners. You know, when we talk about saving money on projects, we're talking millions of dollars, not, you know, a couple thousand here, a couple thousand there. We're talking pretty dramatic savings. So we also have seen this used often and get a lot of calls for emergency repairs. And it's ideal for emergency repairs because it's such a fast application.
Okay.
So again, sort of we talk about where our product makes the most sense. We use the term like a bullseye project. So when we're working with our service providers and they have maybe spray-on technology, they maybe have spiral wound technology, they have all these different technologies available to them. We want to make sure that they are using whatever product makes the most sense to them and to their client. So when we talk directly to pipe owners or clients, we're the first one to say, you know, this isn't going to fit every single application. It's not a commodity, you know. So if you have a long bend with a long run with a lot of bends, then this would be the ideal product for you in that application. Oftentimes you can't use CIPP because you have multiple bends. And this actually, you know, mitigates a lot of the risk. So if you're installing, you know, if you have a CIPP background, a lot of people on the call probably do and understand. If you're curing a pipe in place and you're running it through a bend, the outside of that bend is under tension. The inside of that bend is under compression. So you have like a thin spot at the 90 where you need the most strength, right? So there's a potential void in between the host and your CIPP product at that point. So we don't have that issue. We don't care about that. And so that takes all of the risk. It mitigates all of the risk from the pipe owner's perspective out of the equation, right? So when we install our lines, they can be, you know, from 30 feet up to 8,000 feet. And it's one monolithic solution, completely seamless. That's the beauty of our pipe. And we give a 5-year warranty on the product after it's installed. So not too many people in this industry are doing that. So we're really proud of that.
So one really interesting question that just came in is, are there any materials that cannot be pushed through your pipe? Slurry, chlorine, something that could regrade or break down your pipe?
Yeah, I'm sure there is, and you know, we have if you know, we have a list of products. We're extremely you know, chemically resistant. Our chemical resistivity chart is extremely high. We have a lot of chemicals on there. So if someone had a specific chemical that they were concerned about, I would say email me directly. If I didn't have the answer, we'd send it to our engineers, our chemical engineer in Germany, and they'd get the answer for us.
Right.
Great question. And we get it all the time. Probably I would say 80% of the time we can handle what's going through the pipe.
So another question that has come in is, are there any special considerations, regulations, or other requirements related to pipe bursting?
Yeah, so pipe bursting, obviously this is a little bit different than pipe bursting, but we actually work with some people that do pipe bursting. Pipe bursting, you're typically looking at a straight line or a straight run. And pipe bursting, if you want to oversize the pipe, that could be a consideration. Yes, sometimes that would make sense, but as you're doing your pipe bursting, you may run into a section of that line that has multiple bends, goes under a building, goes under a river, goes under a highway, that you simply cannot pipe burst. So we would be, you know, we would look at that and we would say, okay, you need 3,000 feet, you need 2,000 feet of 8-inch, and we can use your existing line because we're obviously it's such a smooth pipe. Oftentimes, we have a C factor of 150, so oftentimes the velocity is making up for that, that volume loss that you're going to experience. But it's usually acceptable by the clients, and frankly, the alternative is a lot more palatable.
Okay. Another question that came in from Jerry. Sounds like they have potentially a project that this could work for with potable water, but it goes under from, it sounds like one building to another, and the water might sit in there for up to 6 months at a time before it gets moved through.
Yep.
Would there be any concern for water contamination at that point?
Not as far as we're concerned. I mean, we're bisphenol A free. We're completely neutral as far as affecting the water quality. That's why a lot of distilleries are looking at the product right now. They like the idea that there's nothing that's going to leach into their water and affect or influence the taste of the water. So I can't see that being an issue for us at all. But for sure, Jerry, reach out to me, send me an email, we'll talk.
Yeah, he's got some other questions. I'm actually I just sent him a note back and said we'd follow up with him offline
For sure.
on some of the other questions he's got.
Okay.
So Jeff asked if you have happy customers that we can reference and share.
We do have happy customers, and you can go to our website and you can actually talk to them directly if you want. We send out references. So we do have some people, believe it or not, that are self-certified, some municipalities. Las Vegas Valley Water happens to be one of them. We use a lot of these people, we usually ask their permission to reference them. But Kansas Water One is another one that comes to mind. They became self-certified. They did a 20-inch project that was almost 2,000 feet long, and they did it on a cold, wintry day. And their guys, their team as an installer was fantastic. They were top notch. They were safe. They were fast. They were deliberate, and I was very impressed with a municipality that could self-perform at that level. It was really impressive. They do other things too. They do pipe bursting. But for this particular project, it was undersized. They had a 24-inch RCP pipe that was having some issues, and had a 90 and 245s. And again, they did that in a day and a half. And their team did a fantastic job. But for sure, you go onto our website, Jeff, you can talk to, and we'll send out some people you can speak with, some happy customers.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So a couple more questions. This is great, you guys. Keep them coming. This came in from an engineer. So it sounds like if the hose pipe is severely deteriorated, it cannot be expected to continue to provide structural support against soil collapse.
Absolutely. That's a true statement. So right. What we tell people in a case like that, depending on the condition of the hose pipe, sometimes it's just pinhole leaks. Sometimes you have, leaky joints. Other times, if your hose pipe is, you've done your condition assessment and your video inspection or whatever assessment you've done, you determine that you have no usable life left from that hose pipe. You can use a thin-walled CIPP designed by another engineer specializing in that, and sort of give you the structural capability, and then we can pull our liner through that.
Okay.
So sometimes that's a very cost-effective alternative.
Nice. So in the world of municipal public bidding, multiple bidders are preferred. Can we clarify the installation, certification, and licensing that Primus uses? I know you and I have talked about this a lot. So I think that'll help the whole group too.
Yeah, so so one of the things that Primus Line doesn't do is we don't sell a license. I've worked for other companies that you sell a license to a territory. And frankly, that generates a lot of problem in the municipal world. It generates a havoc for them because they have a proprietary product with only one person in coming and bidding it. It's great for the contractor, but it's really nightmarish for the municipality, especially with some of the laws that they have with procurement in a lot of the progressive states. They just simply won't allow it. So what we do is we say, yes, we have our product, and there's similar or like products that are starting to come to the market. Yes, they're not exactly, we consider ourselves to be the Cadillac of flexible fabric reinforced liners. That's how we look at ourselves. And we actually see other like products, coming to the marketplace. And that's fine, as long as it meets the requirements of the owner. But our certified solution partners can go anywhere. They can bid on jobs. They can bid on projects. So the projects that have bid in the past, typically you'll see 2 to 3 bidders minimum on a project that's specified for Primus line. So we have guys out on the West Coast, guys on the East Coast. We've got Spiniello, we've got Michaels, we've got J. Fletcher Kramer on the East Coast, Bill from P&H. In the Midwest, we've got Hill Services doing, they're doing a project in Cleveland coming up here shortly. So they do industrial and they're in the municipal arena now. So we've got CPM, our partner that also does, they're going to be stocking some material. So they cover really Arizona, Nevada, and New Mexico. But they'll have the ability to go anywhere in the country just like anybody else. We have Performance in California, Advantage, and Instapipe up in the northwest and again, all these guys can go anywhere. We don't limit that.
Right. So real quick, what would a certification look like?
So a certification looks like if a company is interested, they would contact us. We sort of have to go through a very brief vetting process. We want to make sure that they understand the trenchless technology. They're involved in trenchless technology. They've got the capabilities. They've got the manpower, and they've got they're the kind of people that we know represent us because they're becoming partners with us. So we want to make sure they have the integrity that we have. We want to make sure that they're the same sort of, moral fiber that we do. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a great product. And once owners understand the benefits of it and the versatility of it, they'll find applications for it we never dreamed of. So that's really my goal. So when a certified solution partner comes on board, they're bringing their expertise in the construction side of things and the operation side of things, where we're bringing our technical prowess, with the product and its capabilities. And so we get projects all the time that, people said, well, there's nothing else in the marketplace right now that can solve this issue. Can you solve it? And we look at it, 9 times out of 10, we can. We come up with a solution.
Yeah. So Jerry has a lot of questions, and some of them we'll follow up with after. I do believe there's a video on the website of it showing it being installed, correct?
You can go to YouTube. There's an absolute just ton of videos on YouTube. You type in Primus line.
I've watched a few of them. He's got an interesting question. Has there been any issues with the products that have made customers unhappy or that just wasn't the right fit that you can think of?
We've never had a failure. There's over 500 miles of this installed worldwide, and we're over 100,000 feet in the US. We've had 0 failures. When you come to our training in Germany, we bring you in for 3 or 4 days. We go through our process. So when people leave, they understand the minimum requirements for installing our product. They know
Right.
how to handle things like offset joints, what they have to do with those. They know what to look out for. So when our client has a project, they'll come to us. If it's complicated, if it's not straightforward, we run it through our engineering group in Germany. And if the engineering group in Germany will say yes or no, or we have to do something a little bit different. So because of that, we've been able to prevent any of the situations that Jerry's asking about, to be fair.
Yeah. I believe earlier you said a 5-year warranty. Can you confirm that?
I
Yeah.
can. There's a 5-year warranty on the product.
And after the 5-year warranty, I think Jason may have asked this. What would that look like if they had a failure or anything like that?
All right, so if you had a failure, again, this product's been around for 20 years now, so it's not really new technology. It's relatively new in the US, been here about 5 years. So what a failure would look like, there'd be two types of failures. A failure of the liner, so we do a pressure test, Jason, at the end of every installation. And once that pressure test is done, we know that product is good. And you would have to have something externally happen to it, like coming in with a backhoe or putting a post through it, something like that. So that's repairable. So you can go down, you can cut that section out, you can put the two end connectors on there, a spool piece in, and put it back into service. Not a problem. If you had sort of a catastrophic failure of the liner, worst case scenario, you'd pull it out and pull a new one in. You'd find out what the cause is. But typically, the Kevlar is like steel. So when we pressurize that, it gets to its most round shape and just stays there. If there's any dynamic activity, seismic activity, if you have a shear, a pipe could break. Generally speaking, if it's a few inches, it's not even going to impact our liner at all.
Got it. So we're just over 1 o'clock.
Okay.
I have gone through all the questions that have come in. Like I said, a couple of them, Jerry, we're going to follow up with you after because you've got a lot of questions, and some of them I think are going to need a little more explaining from John.
Yeah, and we have what's called our support submittal document, and I think you and I talked a little bit about this yesterday. It's about
Yep.
it's a total of 72 pages of information,
And I
and
have
that
that.
will essentially answer almost every question. But we love talking
Yep.
to people and answering their questions, so for sure
So
but look for that. And if you're an engineer and you have a bunch of questions, request that support submittal document. It answers 99% of the questions.
yeah. So John, people can reach out to myself. They can reach out to you for
Yeah.
questions. We'll make sure if anyone sends anything to me, I'll get you to John. What is a good email address for people to email you if they want to follow up immediately?
Sure. It is John, JOHN, Moody, MOODY, at primusline.com. Primus is PRIMUSLINE, all one word.com.
Have
So
I been saying the
John.Moody at
product
Primus.
name wrong?
What's that?
Have I been saying the product name wrong?
So yeah, so the Germans in Germany, it's called Primus. Primus.
Okay. All
So
right.
I call it Primus because I'm American and lazy, and that's what we do,
All
right?
right.
So
I was going to say, but it sounds
yeah,
so fancy in the German way. I like it.
it does. Everyone prefers, especially in Germany, they prefer Primus.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much. Sorry we went a few minutes over, but this was very informative, and I think we got so many good questions that we had to get through, and I'm glad John was able to join me today.
Thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you, everybody that attended, and look forward to seeing you sometime in the very near future. Everybody
Exactly.
stay safe and wash your hands. We'll all be fine.
Yes, we will. Okay. Talk to you soon, John.
Take care. Thanks, Cassie. Take care,
Bye.
everybody. Bye-bye.